Welcome back to Never Enough Novels. I wanted to share a quick peek into my reading life lately to talk about a few books that I read lately that I absolutely loved, plus my current read that I'm just adoring. And I got two books in the mail that I can't wait to read, but I just can't decide which one to start first. So I'm going to let you guys pick and vote in the comments about which one I should do first. To start off, I want to share the book that I'm currently reading because I'm just so excited about it and I am both savoring it but also want to fly through it to see what happens. And that's called Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. This is the sequel to his book The House in the Cerulean Sea, and it's about an orphanage on this island that keeps magical children and their caretaker. In the first book, we get introduced to all of these characters. There is a beautiful love story as well as just really heartwarming exploration of how we treat children and how we create our own found family in the face of major adversity and prejudice. So this book kind of picks up where the first one left off, and we are returning to like all of our favorite characters. I'm just so happy to see everyone again and like interact with the children and Arthur and Linus again. But in this book, Arthur is facing some extra pressure from the government based on his past, and the orphanage that he's running is now going to be investigated again. So him and the children and all of his family and the local townspeople are now kind of facing down this scary like government investigation. There is also a new magical child who joins them on the island. So you've also got a lot of interaction with the new child and how the kids welcome him and kind of how he understands that this is like a safe space for him, something he's never had before. So far, like I'm about halfway through and it's just got all of the same like heartwarming vibes. There's so many like really important messages in here that I think are just wrapped up in this like magical, beautiful story, but still get the point across. So this has been an excellent read so far. I cannot recommend like The House in the Cerulean Sea anymore. It's one of the books that I just think everyone should read. So I've been so excited so far that this one kind of lives up to the expectations of that first book. And I think this is just going to be like the perfect sequel and ending to all of the stories of these characters that I love so much. Another book that I absolutely adored that I read lately is called Love You a Latte by Amanda Elliott. This is a Hanukkah romance book about a cafe owner who is asked by someone in her town to basically create a Hanukkah festival like in their small Vermont town. The person wants to like compete with all of the Christmas festivals that are nearby, so she thinks doing something different and creating a Hanukkah festival will draw more people in. So Abby, as like the only Jewish person in town that she knows of, is now tasked with creating this Hanukkah festival. But she needs some help, and that comes in the form of Seth, who is a regular at her cafe and also one of the most annoying people on the planet because he is just overly cheerful and positive and happy, and that's just not her thing at 8 o'clock in the morning. So Abby and Seth kind of agreed to this like mutual arrangement where he will help her out with the festival through a lot of his contacts that he knows from New York City, and Abby will agree to pose as his Jewish girlfriend and he'll take her home for the Hanukkah holiday. Abby finds herself meeting Seth's family and through over the course of the 8 days, sort of falling in love with her religion and this culture again. It's something that she had kind of separated herself from due to some major issues with her parents. So this is a chance for her to kind of see what it's like to be in a truly loving family, as well as start to get to know Seth better and understand that his cheery personality maybe isn't that annoying overall. This is obviously a romance, so you get a really cute story between her and Seth. But I also thought that the author did a really great job of explaining kind of just what it's like to be a Jewish person during the holiday season. There is a lot of discussion about what it feels like to be like constantly surrounded by Christmas, or how people try and make things like Hanukkah related, but they're just taking Christmas traditions like a Christmas tree and putting blue and white lights on it and saying that counts. But it wasn't preachy at all. It was more of just like a here's what it feels like, and maybe something to think about kind of as you go through this season, or anytime people call things holiday, but like don't really do anything related to Hanukkah or any other holiday. And I just thought she walked that line so well of making this like a fun and lighthearted romance while also just kind of like gently acknowledging that it is a different experience for Jewish people going through December, and that any sort of acknowledgement or understanding or even trying to like experience their traditions as well, it goes such a long way. I loved how Abby kind of learned to stand up for herself and also learned to embrace her Jewish community again. This was just an overall like really fantastic romance. It was an unexpected ad that I just probably will put as one of like my top romances that I've read in December. The other book that I read recently that I just wanted to point out is called What Does It Feel Like by Sophie Kinsella. This is a very short novel. I think it's only like 100 some pages. And so Sophie Kinsella is known for her like really cute, lighthearted romances. She wrote the Shopaholic series, which was, about this kind of ditzy girl who just loved to shop so much and couldn't control her spending. And they're always really funny and flirty and just like really like lighthearted romances. But in this book, it's completely different. Sophie herself had gone through cancer, and she draws on her own experiences to write this little novel. Her main character is a writer as well, and the story is told in kind of snippets of her life from pre-diagnosis to like going through brain surgery to relearning how to walk and talk and like function as a human, while also facing down a diagnosis that only gives her about a year to live. And there's so many poignant moments in the story, as well as just like funny moments that she experiences just kind of as part of normal life and like what her new normal looks like. And Sophie explains like that this is obviously her most personal story to date. Like she always draws a little bit of her own life into her books, but she's like, this one is a very close rendition of what my life has been for the past couple of years. And it was just mind-blowing with how she managed to keep the story kind of lighthearted, but also really emotional and heartfelt. I just think it's so different from anything else that I've read, and like a really interesting look at what it's like for her and for like her family to kind of go through this sort of cancer diagnosis, and how you find those moments of lightheartedness, but also deal with like really tough emotional things, both for her and for her husband, like as her caregiver. I listened to it on audio and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I think it was like 2 hours was the length of the audiobook. So this is one that I highly recommend, especially if you're a fan of hers in general, just as kind of like an understanding of what it's like as an author to go through this experience, like lose all of her words, which are the most important thing to her, and like try and get some semblance of her own life back. Okay, let's get into the 2 books that I received lately so that you can vote on which one that I should read first. So again, share in the comments which one you pick, and then I'll kind of see which one gets the most votes. First up is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. This is a romance. Of course, I love these so much. But it features a married couple, which I think is a unique twist on our like common romance genre. So it's a couple that have been together since they were little, and I think got married early and are just kind of going through a rough patch. So the main female character is just like looking for something a little bit different and like wants to find herself again. Like her husband is a great guy, but he always just kind of like takes over things for her, doesn't let her fail, and she just wants to like experience something different. And they end up going on this like wilderness survival course that's, meant to kind of help couples like get to know each other better and kind of find their footing again. So neither of them like have any experience in the wilderness. So this leads to all sorts of like mishaps and terrifying situations and things. So ultimately it's like a romance between 2 people who are already married but are just kind of finding their way back to each other. So I think it sounds like something really different than what I've read a lot lately and a lot of what we see in the romance genre. Plus that element of just like people in the woods trying to figure things out, I just think is so much fun to read because I am also not a woodsy person, and I can very much relate to probably what they're going through as they take on this course. So it's always fun to kind of see what the author comes up with to put them through. So this is the first book. This is from Dell. It comes out in January as well. The next one is completely different. It is a thriller called Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This one, so she's a very famous thriller author, and this is her latest release. And it's kind of a husband and wife thriller that starts off with like a mysterious disappearance. So Grady is a writer who's on the phone with his wife as she's like driving home, and he hears her like slam on the brakes, get out of the car, and then just nothing. So when they eventually find the car, his wife has just completely disappeared. So Grady is left to deal with like this horrible situation where he just has no idea what happened to his wife, like whether she's dead somewhere or like abandoned him and just left. So a year later, he's still like struggling through all of this, and he decides to go to this like small Scottish island to kind of get away, and hopefully this will be the reset that he needs to get his life, somewhat back on track. while he's there, he sees a woman who looks shockingly similar to his wife. And like from there, like we don't know where the story goes. So I haven't read any more about it than that. That's just like a very short synopsis of the intro. So I'm really curious to see where the story goes. And like, was this woman really his wife? Did she abandon him or was she taken? Like, what's their backstory? And he's also a writer, which I feel like is definitely noted in the summary. So I'm like curious if that comes into play as well. So again, Alice Feeney always writes like really interesting, twisty thrillers. So this is another, I think, going to be a great option from her. But very different books. So thriller versus like cute romance between a married couple. So I don't know which vibe I want to go for next. So let me know in the comments which one you think I should read next. Or if you have any other books that you've read lately, let me know. I'm always looking for more book recommendations. I will also put the links to the books that I mentioned today down below in the description, so you can grab them from Amazon if you're interested and help support this channel along the way. It's no extra cost to you. And also just hit like on this video and subscribe to my channel to see even more book talks and recommendations in the future.